Hey foodie friends, so today we're gonna make this beautiful pineapple upside down cake. Now, let's get saucy. All right, foodie friends, like I said, pineapple upside down cake. Let's jump right in. First thing, I have a 10-inch cake pan here with a half a stick or a quarter a cup of butter. This is unsalted butter. I always use unsalted. Salted for this is fine, but this is unsalted for me. I'm gonna pop this in my oven. It's already set at 350, so this butter can melt. Now you can do this on your stovetop or in your microwave, just melt the butter, pour it in your pan, but I figured the oven's already on, let's just do it in there. So that's only gonna take a couple of minutes to melt in there. And then I have my mixer here. And you can do this with a hand mixer. I just don't happen to have a hand mixer, so I have to break out my big stand mixer to do this. So in my stand mixer for our cake batter, we're gonna start off with 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar and 1 stick or a half a cup of unsalted butter. Again, this is softened to room temperature. Again, like I said, I use unsalted butter all the time. If you have salted butter, you'll just want to cut the amount of salt that you're adding to this down. I'm adding a little bit of salt to this to control that myself. But if you're using unsalted butter, you'll definitely want to just take out like, you know, a half of the salt or a quarter of the salt, whatever. You don't want it overly salty. So, right. We're just gonna cream this together until it's light and fluffy. It's gonna take about like 5 minutes and then we'll come back. All right, so our butter and sugar, you can see here, is nice and pale and fluffy now. So just going to continue on with our batter. So we're gonna go ahead and scrape down the bowl a little bit just to make sure everything's getting well incorporated. I have this beater that I love that has the rubber, you know, kind of spatula surrounding it. But it's good to always still get in here with another spatula, can get the bottom and stuff, make sure you're getting everything well incorporated. So to this now, the next thing we're gonna do is add our eggs, and we're gonna go eggs 1 at a time. I already have those here, so that's 2 eggs, 1 at a time. And just make sure that each one gets well incorporated before you add the next one in. That's good, so the next one goes in. And then I'm gonna grab my cake pan out of the oven real quick because I'm sure it's ready. Yes, all right. Butter's good and melted there, so I'm gonna go ahead and do one more thing here. I'm gonna add my vanilla. This is about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract right in there as well. And let that mix in. And then I'm gonna pause this for a quick second. Okay, so pause that for a quick second. And then to my cake pan here with the melted butter, I am going to carefully, because this is hot, it just came out of the oven, like I said. So we're going to go ahead and put in, this is a half a cup of lightly packed light brown sugar. I'm just gonna sprinkle this all over the butter, nice and evenly. Super simple, absolutely delicious. Pineapple upside down cake, one of my favorites. This is gonna be so good. I am using a 10-inch cake pan here, guys, just because that's what I have. I didn't realize I don't have a 9-inch cake pan. So the recipe for this will be for a 9-inch cake pan. I'm gonna tell you how to do the 10-inch as I'm doing it, but the written recipe will be for a 9-inch, and I'll give you notes for the 10-inch cake pan if you just happen to have a 10-inch cake pan like I do. So I'm gonna grab another spatula. I'm just gonna kind of move this around a little bit, kind of try to even it out a little bit in the bottom of our pan here. So we've got butter and sugar all over every bit of the bottom of this pan. And then we're gonna go ahead and arrange our pineapple in here. So I just have a can of pineapple rings, obviously. Super easy, and I also use that juice from the pineapple rings from the can in my cake batter, so that's a double duty ingredient that I have here. So pineapple rings, super simple. I'm gonna start right in the very center and then kind of work my way around the outside. And then I'm gonna probably have to cut some to fit into some of these spots, which is totally fine. You can do it however you want. But I'm just gonna try to make it look as beautiful as possible, because this is gonna be the top of our cake. Hence, you know, pineapple upside down cake, you all know that means we're gonna flip this upside down and what's on the bottom is gonna become the top of our cake. So I think I'm gonna need some like thirds or quarters here. So let's see, third. Yeah, so thirds. So I'm gonna finish doing this and then I'll come right back. All right, so I got our pineapple arranged in there, and now I've got some little maraschino cherries. I'm gonna put one in the center of each pineapple ring. And then I'm gonna put some extra ones kind of around and about as well, just to make this really beautiful and add some extra cherries, because why not? So add some on the sides over here, maybe in some of these spots where the pineapple rings meet, stuff like that. Just do it however you want. This is your cake. You can make, put as many or as few as you want in here. I'm just gonna put a couple around here and there. I think that's good. So that's ready. We're gonna set this off to the side and finish up our batter. All right, so I'm gonna leave this here for a second, and in here, I have in my bowl here 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and to that I'm gonna add 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon and a half, sorry, of baking powder. And I should have grabbed my whisk to whisk this together. So give this a nice little whisk together so that we distribute that salt and that baking powder evenly into the flour. And then we have our wet ingredients. So what I have here, I have 1/4 cup of pineapple juice, like I said, just from the can that the pineapple came in. I have 1/4 cup of milk. I just happen to have some vanilla unsweetened almond milk. You can use regular milk, you can use a milk substitute like I am today. That just happens to be what was in my fridge, so that's what I'm using. And 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt here. So my other spatula back, I'm gonna throw the Greek yogurt right in here with my pineapple juice. And then I'm gonna give that a little bit of a stir just to loosen up that yogurt a bit. And we'll go ahead and add the milk in here as well. And then we're gonna add this into our butter and egg mixture. Alternating. We're gonna put in some of the flour mixture and then some of the milk mixture. We're gonna start and end with the dry ingredients. So we're gonna start and end with the flour. So I'm going to do this in like 2 to 3 additions. So I'm gonna put about 1/3 of this in here, or half, about a little more than 1/3. And slowly on this, otherwise your flour is gonna poof up on you and make a mess all over your kitchen. And also when we're doing this, you don't want to over mix this, right? You don't want tough cake batter. So we're just going to mix till that flour is incorporated. And then I'm going to add in like half of my milk mixture. And give that another little mix. Lightly mixing, of course. Again, tough cake is not a good cake. So you don't want to overwork the flour. You don't want to work that gluten structure in. We're gonna add in some more of our flour mixture, not quite all of this, maybe about half of this. And again, that smells so good already. You can smell the vanilla in there. It smells lovely and sweet and delicious. And then finally, we're gonna add in our last little bit of milk and pineapple juice. And then for our last addition of flour, I'm gonna take this off and I'm just gonna incorporate it by hand. So that is well incorporated, that last bit of our liquid. I'm gonna stop this we're gonna take this off and we're just gonna do the rest by hand because it's really simple and easy to do and it's not a lot of batter, so that'll work out well and we won't overwork it. So scrape off everything off of our batter here, our beater rather. So guys, this is gonna go in the oven in my 10-inch cake pan, like I said, because that's what I happen to have, at 350 for about 35 to 45 minutes. I'm gonna start checking it at about 30 to 35 minutes. For a 9-inch cake pan, you're gonna wanna go 40 to 45 minutes. But this is gonna be a thinner layer since I have that extra inch on my cake pan, so it's gonna bake a little bit faster. It's still gonna be a delicious cake. It's not gonna be as tall, but it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be fantastic anyway. So get that good and scraped off. I'm gonna add in the last bit of our flour mixture here. Make sure to get all of that out. And then you can see around the side of my bowl, there's still some flour there too. I'm gonna scrape all of that in and I'm just gonna fold the last bit of this flour in. Check the bottom of your bowl, make sure there's not any dry bits of flour down there either. If there's some lumps in here, that's fine. They'll bake out as the cake bakes. But making sure all of that flour is well incorporated. And then we're gonna go into our pan with this and gently kind of smooth it out so that it's an even layer across there. So this is cooled down now. So again, look how beautiful that's gonna look. So we're gonna go in here. I'm gonna just kind of dollop this around a little bit so I don't have to disturb it too much. I'm gonna have to spread this out, but I don't wanna move the pineapple and stuff around too much. So if I can get this as evenly dispersed as possible, that'll help me from having to push too much on it. Get every bit of that batter out of there, especially since, like I said, this 10-inch cake pan is a little bit bigger than what I would normally use. So give this a little bit of a light smooth. Just get it as level as possible. It'll level out a bit in the oven, of course, while it cooks, and then scrape this off one last time and get this right on there. All right, and then the last thing I'm gonna do, which is not something that's absolutely necessary, is I have a cake strip. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a layer of fabric, a couple of layers of fabric sewn together, and you put it around the outside of your cake. And what this does is this is gonna help as it bakes for it to bake more evenly so that it doesn't dome up like crazy in the center. It's gonna help that outside to slow down and not bake as fast. So it kind of bakes just a little more evenly with the inside. So you just soak that in some water for about 5-10 minutes and then wring it out really well, wrap it around your cake. So I'm gonna pop this in the oven. Like I said, I'm gonna start checking it at like 35 minutes. When a toothpick in the center comes out clean, it's ready. And so we're gonna then take it out and let it cool for at least 5 to 10 minutes before we invert it onto our cake stand. All right, foodie friends, so our cake came out of the oven. It's been cooling for about 10 minutes. You can see it's got like a beautiful kind of golden brown bottom there. And I don't know how well you can see, but it's kind of pulled away from the sides as it was cooling. I'm gonna go ahead and run a knife around it just as an insurance policy. So in case any of the like bottom parts of the sides of it are stuck to the pan, but they're not. So now is the part that we kind of have to be really confident about. We're gonna flip it. So I'm just gonna do this. You gotta be very confident about this, and you're just gonna flip it over in one quick motion. All right, and then I'm just gonna leave it sit here. I just heard it fall. So it's come out. You could hear it kind of fall out of the cake pan. Lift this off. And okay, so if that happens, see what happened there? My one pineapple in the center for some reason stuck. That's okay. Put that right back in there. No one's ever gonna know. Well, except for me and all of you because we saw it. But if you were baking this for guests coming over later, they would never know that that happened. But look at this. It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? So I'm gonna let this cool a little bit more before I cut a slice and taste it. All right, so let's get a little slice of this. It's still warm. I love this when it's still a little bit warm with just by itself, which is how I'm gonna do it right now. It's great with a little whipped cream, a little, I don't know, whatever, creme fraiche, sour cream, Cool Whip. I don't judge, whatever you want with it. A little vanilla ice cream would be fantastic, but look at how beautiful that cake is, right? You can see how soft and tender it is, the beautiful pineapple and cherries on top. Get a good bite. That is so delicious. Super moist, not overly sweet, the cake itself. That pineapple is got a little bit of acidity to it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's so soft, melts right in your mouth, that cake. You guys are absolutely gonna wanna make this. There will be a link to the full written recipe in the description box below. Thank you as always for joining me here on Getting Saucy with Chef Lynn. You can follow me across all social media at Chef Lynn Wheeler. My website is cheflynnwheeler.com, where you can find all of my recipes. That'll be linked in the description box, like I said. And as always, remember, keep exploring, keep tasting, and keep celebrating the flavors that bring us together.